Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer, along with the great Ezekiel Trezevant, also your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer, and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. And today we're going to talk about the Raiders searching for answers and facing facts. Just a moment ago, we just walked out of the locker room, but we talked with Pete Carroll, we talked with Ashton Jeanty, we talked with Geno Smith, I talked with Delmar DJ Glaze and Zamir. Let's just talk about this, the reality of it. A couple of things have really stood out to me. I thought Pete Carroll's press conference today, and we've got the video up for you to watch. I thought it was brilliant. I thought, sometimes people will say, you know, ask this question, ask that question. Well, go get a degree and get the job yourself and ask the question. But some of them are things we know answers to.
Yes, 100%.
And some of them are things that, we know aren't going to get answered publicly. And so I get that. But what I thought was fascinating, well, I'm going to ask you, because pretty much everybody in the media was talking about. What stood out to you from that press conference?
Geno, the press conference in totality, I would say definitely Geno. Just in terms of how he's taking everything, I think we all kind of took note of how Geno, and I mean, imagine leading the league in interceptions. I think that's a tough spot for anybody to be in on a new team, new fan base, new everything. That's tougher. It's already tough to be the new guy in class, right? Imagine going out there and struggling. It's tougher. So I think just the ebb and flow, the vibe of Geno, it wasn't necessarily negative, but it was just you can feel that he wants it, and you can feel that he's trying, right? So maybe a little bit too hard. So for me, it was just the whole vibe of listening, of giving Geno Smith the chance to speak his mind to a certain degree.
And this is why I like it when we do it together, because that was not the highlight to me. The highlight to me is when Pete Carroll talked about, well, guys can't call the plays. And he was, I thought, pretty straight on. I mean, he's pretty critical about, we play calling.
Yeah. And
I thought, wowza.
Yeah, and Pete saying that was definitely a quick, he got it out there quickly, right? And you kind of had to read between the lines on it, but I think it's a fair assessment.
See, no, I'm gonna press you on this one.
Yeah.
You say you had to read between the lines. I didn't think you had to read between the lines at all. What did you read between the lines?
So I feel like and we kind of mentioned this one-on-one, but in terms of when you're 1-4, there's a lot of blame to go around. Doesn't matter what team you were on. 1-4, at that point, they're going to start to get pointed. It doesn't matter who you are, what team you are. 1-4 fingers they're starting to get pointed. And I think there's only so many directions that the fingers can get pointed to that point. If you also notice, whenever Pete talks and the question of Geno comes up, he defends Geno almost every time. Why doesn't any of the blame go there for Pete?
Okay, and I've heard him talk about him needing to perform better and all that, but I see your point.
Overall, I'm saying
no, I think your point is germane.
So what I say that to say,
I don't mean Pratt.
That's a whole nother story. But I say that to say that Pete's been doing this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The coaching, the speaking to the media, wording things a certain kind of way. He knows what he's doing. And he might make it to where you have to read between the lines a little bit, and it may or may not be obvious, but Pete's not doing anything by accident. He's not making that comment on accident. And I believe, obviously, there's some truth to it, right? The play calling does need to be fixed. But I also think that he knows, or he trusts, that Chip Kelly can take that blame better than maybe some of the other places that blame could go.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to me, because here's the deal. They're searching for answers, but they're also facing facts.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things I think they're realizing is last week, to me, sits squarely on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned on my podcast yesterday, when I went back and watched the film and talked to people around the NFL, I thought Delmar Glaze was really good. I thought Jackson Powers Johnson was outstanding. He played like an absolute stud. Dylan Parham was excellent. And I thought Stone Forsythe was even better. I watched it again last night. I think he was even better than I thought. Jordan struggled. There were times he was really good, but he struggled. And with that offensive line, you get in the red zone and you want to run shotgun. And you look at the Colts went with the heavy package and just lined up Jonathan Taylor.
Yep, and just play football.
And just, okay, it's blocking, it's tackling, it's not brain surgery. I want to see the Raiders line up, let Ashton do what Ashton does. And to this point, when Pete talks about having to get the running game more involved. That's like saying amen to an evangelical choir.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you in terms of when they got down in the red zone. That's part of why I asked Ashton that question. Hey, like, does part of you want the ball more in the red zone? Yes, that
And
play call.
that kid is a seasoned pro.
Yes, a very
Well,
yeah, very much so. And I know Ashton saw my dumb smile on the other side of the camera when I asked him that question because the answer is obviously yes. What running back doesn't? But to that play calling topic that we're talking about, passing the ball excessively in the red zone when your quarterback is struggling and you need every inch, you need every point. That's questionable. I didn't when Geno threw that first interception, it was batted up. I think they had ran. That was the second pass play in a row. Like Ashton deserves the ball one of those times. Raheem deserves the ball one of those times. Like your quarterback is struggling, help him out. So the play calling is definitely something. But again, we can peel this back 10 different layers. Part of what Chip Kelly is going through right now, and he's still trying to figure out what these guys can do successfully. What can he call that he knows for a 100% fact that they're going to do successfully? He doesn't have many of those plays, and I think that's throwing Chip Kelly off.
it's interesting, isn't it?
There's 20 different layers of this. I'm sorry, guys. I've thought about it so many different
No,
ways.
we've thought about it
Yeah,
every which way from Tuesday.
Yeah,
So let's talk about the search for answers.
Yeah.
I know that the answer when you're an angry fan is fire everybody, bench everybody. But you can't bench everybody because you got guys on guaranteed deals. You have a salary cap, so you can't do that. And you can't fire everybody because in the 6 years I've been here, everybody they've wanted fired has been fired, and they're still losing.
You can only fire so many people, and you can only start over so many times. It's week 5, week 6.
And let me just say something here. We're not shills. If we felt firing was the answer,
Not to cut you off, but we've had the last 2 to 3 seasons to talk about firing coaches. I think we know if a coach deserves to be fired or not. We spent the last 2 to 3 seasons talking about firing or not firing your head coach, and we've always kept it pretty straightforward. So I think it's there.
I'm going to say this. The one thing about Pete, and there are several things that I'm impressed with, but the one thing I am impressed with Pete is there's no hyperbole. So let me give an example. I think he knew saying I didn't bench Geno and put Kenny in because I wanted to treat it like practice. He's no dummy. He knew that was going to go over like a fart in church to this fan base.
Yeah.
But it was truthful. I can deal with a coach, even if you disagree, and I do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have benched Geno for the season, but I would have put Kenny in. I can deal with that. Yeah. But don't sell me
just empty words.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of that around
You
here.
took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, it's been a lot of that. And it's our job to notice that. It's our job to call it out. But sometimes things are just so obvious that it's like, what do you mean is going on? So Pete, and again, back to what I said earlier, Pete has been doing this a long time. He knows how to say what he has to say, when and how he needs to say it.
So we were talking with several of our colleagues today about rebuild. We were very emphatic last year because we were hearing from people in this building. This team is not a reload. A rebuild. It's a reload. That's what they were telling us.
Very much so.
Pete gets the job. He echoes those sentiments.
Yes.
So they bring in a lot of older veterans. And they bring in a lot of older veterans. And those, not all of them have been highly successful. And at some point, I said this, if you lose to lowly Tennessee, and they're lowly, you just need to come out and say, all right, that's it. Listen, we tried the rebuild. It's 6 games. We're just going to go straight to a rebuild. Am I wrong?
No, I completely agree with that.
Because I'm getting some of our colleagues saying, not all, but some of them saying, what are you talking about? It's a rebuild now.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like
when you do that, they think I'm telling you can't say anything.
Because I don't, Hano, you know me. I have so much to say. This is what I will say. I mean, I think I think the front office did not approach this as a rebuild. Should it be a rebuild? Yes. I don't think their offseason moves were, this is a rebuild. So
if you're rebuilding, I don't think you're bringing in Amari Cooper. You're not bringing in Jermaine and other veterans.
Yeah.
They're not the only ones.
Yeah, those moves that they made were not we believe we are rebuilding right now, because none of those moves are rebuilding like. But should they be in that mode? Yeah. And if they lose to the Titans, what are we waiting on at that point? They're 1-5. That game the Titans game, it's giving me eerie vibes of the Panthers game last year. Different points in the season. I think the Panthers game was week 3. This is obviously week 6. That was a Devontae game. I think that was Devontae's last game, but they were playing with the backup quarterback. They were a lowly team. They were a team that you said, oh, the Carolina Panthers, they're playing with the backup quarterback. Raiders got this one. And then it went downhill quick. Andy Dalton sliced them up. This Titans, should they win? Yes. Should they have beat the Panthers last year? Yes. Should they beat the Titans? Yes.
Should they beat the Colts with Jeff Saturday?
Should they have beaten the Bears? Like, they should win. We could should all day. But are they going to beat the Titans? They have to go out there and do it. They have to go out there and do it.
And this is the thing I think where people are at. And you know, you just use the term "we," showing your fandom, and which is fine. But I think where people are at is just give them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody here is lying. I don't believe that. You might. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's lying. I think they want to believe it's a reload.
Mm-hmm. So this is what I'll say in terms of, that one thing I do is I put myself mentally into those guys' shoes in terms of the players. And I think it's something that helps me kind of view things. So when I say we, I'm saying like put yourself in their shoes, right? Because it's hard to talk about something if you're not in that person's shoes. So mentally it's like, hey, where do they go? Like, what do you do at, let's say they lose to the Titans. What do you do at 1-5? What is the next step from there? And at that point, there is no choice but to be honest. And the honesty is starting. It started a couple weeks ago. It's just getting more and more honest at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But you can only deny so long, especially in the NFL. You can only turn a blind eye to certain things for so long. And at 1-5, a potential loss to the Titans, it's going to be you got to win. It's a must win.
All right. So I said beginning of the year.
I'm sorry, Hondo. They got. I'm sorry, man. Like, we watched these guys the whole offseason, every day, 8 a.m. practices. They were balling, like we saw it, and to watch it go like this it's tough.
So I had a NFL coach who I talked to this week, retired, and I said to him, he asked me what I thought, and I said, all offseason, Geno was in complete command of the offense. He did not stop one time.
We all saw it.
I mean, it wasn't just you and I.
Everybody.
It was our colleagues. It was the players. And then I said, I can't get. I'm struggling putting my mind around what happened. And he said this, and I wanted to ask you about it. He said, in practice, it's never game speed, even when it's live. He's wearing a red jersey. He knows he's not going to get clocked. And this coach said to me, in fact, Shannon was in the car, we were listening to it on the Bluetooth. He said, this is what's wrong with the modern NFL. We've collective bargained. We're not even hardly practicing in the offseason. And so the first month is really an extension of training camp. And you don't know what you have because it's not live game speed. And I said to him, though, tell me, was I deceived? Where was I wrong? He goes, no, I don't think you were deceived. I just think this is such a new dynamic that you haven't registered yet. Okay, well, let's wait till we see it. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree, but can I take this topic a little bit different of a point?
Please.
So listen to me here. All offseason, we said that the biggest weakness they had was the cornerbacks.
Yep.
That's what we said from day one. It's been an issue for the last 2 seasons. Go look at the mock drafts for the last 2 seasons. Cornerback. Pete has said multiple times that Geno has been completing those passes in practice against what might be the worst cornerback group in the league. One of the worst, especially. So maybe that's why the passes are getting completed in practice. It's because of the cornerbacks. Maybe the cornerbacks you're playing against on game day are significantly better than the cornerbacks you're rolling out there in practice. That's why it's getting completed in practice. That's what Pete said, right?
It's what he said. In the words of Apollo Creed, ding, ding.
Like, yeah, I bet the passes are.
Do you get that from Rocky too?
Yes, I love Rocky. Yes, 100%. So yes, guys. I've thought about this so many different ways because we lived it. We live this. When I say we live this. Like, we're here every day. This is our passion, our job. I've thought about this so many different ways, and there's a lot that goes into it. And like I said, when Pete said that, hey, it really perked my interest when he said, hey, well, Geno's, all these passes are getting completed in practice. Who's he practicing against?
Right. All right. So let's go to another angle. We're talking today about searching for answers, facing facts.
Yes.
Okay. fact, they need to do more with Ashton Genty.
Very much so.
And Pete is acknowledging that. So I think if you're a Raider at this point, I don't think anybody has, except maybe Shannon, and I don't even think she's thinking Super Bowl anymore. She's still thinking they can get to 500, 9 wins. You know my wife. Okay. But if you're a person who's saying, okay, give us something to believe in, take the rest of this year and convince us we're going in the right direction. I think hearing Pete Carroll say, we got to do more with the run game, whatever. I think that is balm to the wounds of Raider Nation. Is that not?
Yeah, I mean, you I'm sorry, you spent the number 6 draft pick on. Yeah, you need to do more with the running back. And again, I think that goes back into a whole different rabbit hole of, Chip Kelly, play calling, how deep is his bag, how comfortable is he in calling certain plays. I think that all plays into it because why else does Pete Carroll need to say that we need to use Ashton Genty more? You just use this number 6 draft pick on. Like that goes without saying. So I think a lot of it plays into what they can do and what they can do successfully, and I think that's been holding them up in terms of. But yes, they need to run the ball more, and especially if you get into the red zone. Like I think most people would be okay if you attempted to run the ball, specifically, let's say the red zone. If you attempted to run the ball and it just didn't work, you can't just completely get away from the running game. Period. Unless you get down big, obviously, but you have to stick with it. I'm sorry.
All right, so let me ask you this one. This is what really stood out to me. You're down 2 starting tight ends, and you are a tight end heavy team, meaning you use them a lot.
Yes.
And you're throwing now. Once the game gets out of hand, you have to
Yes.
throw more.
Yes.
And we'll cede that to them. But early, you're trying to go shotgun in the red zone. When you're a tight end heavy team, down your top 2 tight ends, I'm like.
But to me, that speaks to, like, if I'm just reading the tea leaves, that speaks to having little faith that the offensive line is going to hold up. Which, however, right or wrong in that situation, we need to have the quarterback back an extra couple yards, because if not, we don't know what's going to happen. Like it's I think a lot of what's going on with Chip and his play calling, because we can all agree that's an issue, is confidence. Chip's confidence in the unit to do what he's trying to do. He can't get to level 2 or 3 if they're not doing level 1 correct.
All right, so then I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I don't know that that's what Chip thinks. I know you think it.
Yeah. I'm speaking. Yeah,
right. I know you're speaking
yeah,
opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know that, so I wouldn't say that, because I think Chip knows the game,
Mhm.
and his offensive line was performing well.
Mhm.
Well.
Mhm.
So let me go a little bit of a different direction. Chip comes into the NFL,
Mhm.
goes to Philly.
Gotcha. Okay, I was about to say Philly, you're here.
Yep, goes to Philly. Has great success early. They figure out his offense, the NFL does, and he leaves. Okay, he's traveled around a little bit.
Mhm.
Goes back to the college game last year, extremely successful. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I'm saying this is a topic that needs to be discussed. Do you think he has a more college offense
Ooh.
than a defense? Now, let me tell you why.
Okay. Uh-huh.
The coach I talked to this week, he said he has no agenda. He doesn't dislike Chip at all. He said, but he's using a lot of college concepts. And I know they worked in Philly early, not necessarily once they got figured out, and not necessarily in San Fran.
So I know you can kind of see the wheels turning in my head a little bit right now. I had never thought about it from that perspective, but I do, and I've told you this week 2 against the Chargers. That was the second week of the season. I said I felt like the Chargers had a bead on what the Raiders are trying to do.
Okay.
And I think that speaks to what you're bringing up right now in terms of the college. That might be what it is. I didn't put 2 and 2 together until you just said that.
Do you DVR the games?
I do not, but
Okay.
I do go back and watch often.
Okay.
Yes.
I want you to go back, and I'm not going to say publicly what I'm going to ask, and I want you to address something.
Okay.
Now, if you guys don't know, Zeke does the pregame podcast every game. There was something that the NFL coach said to me.
Okay.
And I want you to go back and check it. And
Okay.
if it's accurate, I want you to tell everybody this is what Hondo told me to talk to you about.
For sure.
It was about the Chip Kelly offense.
Okay.
I already looked.
Okay.
But I want you to look.
Okay.
I want you to judge it for your own self. But what stands out to me, though, is there's utter panic. I don't even know that panic is the word. Disgust among the fans. I don't think it's panic. I got an email today that was forwarded on to me that was moving from somebody that said, I have been faithful and loyal through thick and thin. Even so much that I wasn't even optimistic when AP got the job. Wasn't optimistic when anyone else got the job. But this was the first time in years I let myself get optimistic and they're depressed. And so, but I can tell you this, the feeling among them, and we were just in the locker room, we were with Pete. There isn't panic. Been here, done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this to you, and you can feel whatever you want. I'm certainly not God. I understand the frustration and I think it's warranted. But I also think if anyone is going to fix this, it's going to be Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree in terms of who else can fix this, and this goes back to you mentioned earlier about fans wanting coaches fired. There's no better person for what this is and what this is going to be in this season. There's no better person for where they are than Pete Carroll. There's very few people that could have. It's easy to find a coach to go up there and do and speak when you're doing great and you're undefeated and all those kind of things. It takes a special kind of coach to come in when things are not going well. You don't necessarily have the best roster. Things are not going your way, and still stand up there and take it. And I think there's no better person that's available or that was available than Pete. So 100%. These guys they want it. They're trying their hardest. But at the same time, guys, listen. Again, I've said multiple times. There's plenty of blame to go around. But I think if you look deeply at some of the things that have gone on as well, it's just tough to come back from that. It just is what it is.
Right.
Like you say, a tight end based offense, and then your top two tight ends are hurt in week 3. Like that plays a part into this. Like,
well, it's part of why we talked about when we did our last podcast before the season on predictions. I said, I just don't. This is not a playoff team. They don't have the depth.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's just a fact.
We went into the offseason. When I say we, again, the media room, everybody knew that if anything happened to any of the starting offensive linemen or a Brock Bowers, those are losses that who can sustain that kind of a loss?
But hey, let's give Stone Forsythe.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not. Yeah.
No.
Like
No. You're right.
Yeah,
your point is right, but I know because you and I've talked, and we just talked to Pete about it. I don't want people putting words in your mouth.
Gotcha. I appreciate that.
That.
Yeah, no, this is
listen. There's a clear drop off between Colton and Stone. Anybody who's a true football who knows football will tell you that. But we are going to give him credit. Yes. He played exceptionally.
Yes, and the coach, it's on film. It speaks for itself in terms of how well Stone played. So this is definitely not a knock on Stone or really any of the replacements, right? Like there's no knock on them, but every team needs their starters, right? And especially if there's a huge drop off between your starters and your number 2. Starters are starters for a reason. Backups are backups for a reason. There's certain losses that no team can sustain and sustain well, right? You losing Colton Miller, that is a top 10 to 15 left tackle in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. That's hard to replace.
Top 1 to 7.
Thank you. I'm trying to be a little respectful here. That's tough to replace. It's tough to call plays when you don't have the players you thought you were going to have. Okay. That's what it is. Sorry, guys.
I'm going to go in a different direction with you.
Excuse me.
I get the impression from you, you're like, it's a rebuild now. Am I misreading you?
Yes. Or no, you're not misreading me. Yes, I believe that. Yes.
Okay. And you guys are so invested, meaning the building, in a reload. Fine. Keep your reload narrative. But if you lose to Tennessee, it is a rebuild. I'm fully in on a rebuild. Okay, so here's my thing. I don't want to talk names right now.
Okay.
If they lose, which before the season was unfathomable to me. Okay, now would not shock me. I still think they're the better team. I still think they should win. But it would not surprise me now. It has a Colts feeling with Jeff Saturday. It has a Carolina feeling. There's that feeling, okay? If it's a rebuild, then they have to look at their entire roster and say, okay, is this person going to be with us at the end of the rebuild? Is this person going to be a contributing member at the end of the rebuild? Is this person going to be a contributing? Because then you have to look and say, okay, if we're going to rebuild.
You have to rebuild.
And we're going to rebuild.
Yeah. Yes.
Then we've got to go look and say, who's part, who's not? And those are questions that we'll have to talk about Monday
Let's go.
if they
It's
lose.
it's it's going to be interesting either way. Sunday's going to be must see. It's going to be must see TV. And let's see what happens. So it's a pivotal point in the season. We're at that point already at week 6. It's pivotal, and like you said, right, you can continue the the narrative all you want to, but 1-5 and a loss to the Titans, and you got to think the Titans were the better, or the Cardinals were the better team last week when the Titans miraculously won that game, right? So being a better team doesn't always, that only gets you so far. So I think the Raiders technically were the better team in terms of the Bears game. I think the Raiders were the better team. I do
too.
and they still lost the game. So that's no guarantee in the league.
And I just asked Gino a minute ago. By the way, all the video you can go watch Delmar, DJ Glaze, Ashton the Mule, Ashton Ginty, Gino, and Pete. We've got all those videos up. But I just asked Gino in games 1 and 3. He was a top in game 1. He was a top 2 quarterback in the NFL.
Yes.
Game 3, he was a top 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's games 2, 3, and 4. 2, 4, and 5 that were brutal. And I asked him, have you gone? Because he is a film guy. He is a smart guy. He goes back, he studies his film, he pays attention. And I talked about, is there anything you notice that you're doing differently in 2, 4, and 5 than 1 and 3? And he didn't seem convinced that there's anything he's doing different. Am I misrepresenting him?
No, I think just from the pressures we've had with Gino, I think what he said and what he meant might be 2 different things.
Okay. Well,
because
listen, my wife is a mind reader. I don't go there because there are many times she reads my mind and she's wrong.
Again, just like Pete's been doing this a while, Gino has too, and there's been other things that we've asked him where the answer was clearly one thing, and Gino was like, "I'm gonna go over here with the answer." So that's the only reason I say that. It's just off. Again, guys, we do these recordings, we watch these guys, we talk to these guys, we pick apart every little thing they do, everything they say, how they say it, and that's why I came to that conclusion. So, yeah.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.